Hello guys, welcome to another video of API testing and basics of API testing. In continuation of the previous part, what we have learned in the previous video is that basics of API and web service testing is that what is client and what server, what is client server architecture, how many types of client server architecture is there, what is business logic layer, why it is an API, why it is called API, what is an API, okay, and what is the difference between unit testing and API testing, how it is different, hierarchy of API testing and unit testing, that is the who actually do this API testing and how it is done. What is web services and types of web services used in this today's scenario, and the difference between the API and web services. Now, in this video, we'll be learning about the components of web services. So, starting it till the end, we'll be learning. We'll be all gone through each and every point about the API testing, each and every important point of the API testing that should be known before you should start API testing or web service testing. So the component of web service testing, component of web services is that like we stopped calling it API because we know that an API which is present over cloud or internet is known as web service, right? So basically, what are the components of web services is that it is WSDL, UTDI. Okay, just a minute. So the components of web service is that it's WSDL and UTDI. So what is WSDL? This is stand for basically with WSDL actually stands for Web Service Description Language. What it actually say is that any web services that is provided over the cloud or is presented over the internet might be there some location, might be stored in some location, right? As we have seen in the previous thing that in an architecture, in a client server architecture, a client has a separate physical computer and a server has a separate physical computer, right? So in that scenario, if you just want to learn about the API which we are using, like this, if I am using this thing, might be there is some separate computer who are actually storing it, right? So the location, who will provide me the location and what it actually stored is provided by this WSDL. So basically, WSDL stand for Web Service Description Language, and it is XML based language that it won't be a matter of us who are actually in testing, web API testing or web service testing. You should not look on that, or we don't understand, or a user don't understand an XML based language, right? We just want to know that if I search something, might be there have to have some response. We might have some response about that, and we'll be figuring out which response is more relevant to us and which is more useful to us, right? So a WSDL actually is work of us, and we should work on that. Like if I search something, suppose I have gone to Google and search. Suppose I have searched Sundar Pichai. Okay, so there are a lot of URLs came in. Okay, and there an API that is working for me to search this Sundar Pichai from the database, from the backend, to show it in front of me, right? If I just inspect it and go to this network thing, and there will be some API. Suppose in this news there are a lot of APIs will come in. So these APIs must be stored in, yes, definitely they are presented in cloud, but there must be some actual physical computer who are actually storing it, and there must be some in the cloud, there must be some location of it, and that location should like their location should have some definition about it, like what's the API do, what's their format in request, and what's the request it comes in. Okay, so these type of description is actually stored in this WSDL. If you just want to know about the WSDL, you can visit the soapui.org and go to docs so that you can learn about the SOAP and WSDL. So here also it is written that WSDL is a web service description language in an XML based definition language. It is used for describing the functionality of a SOAP based web service. Right. It's actually work in both cases, in the SOAP and REST cases, because I already told you that so REST is a big brother of SOAP. So it's actually the rest is inherited from SOAP. If the rest is a child, so the SOAP is the parent, right? So that's how it's actually works. So WSDL, basically what WSDL do is that it states us what's the API do, what's the nature of API, what's the nature of the format, what's the input, what's the output, where it is located, and it is always in XML format. Now coming into the UDDI. What is UDDI? UDDI stands for Universal Description, Discovery and Integration. It is an open internet-based specification that offers directory services for storing information about the web services. Now, I have told you that WSDL, that is a Web Service Description Language, has the information about the web services, has the information about the APIs. It has the information where it is located, but someone might have storing it. Already told you that there some might be some computer, might be some physical interface that is storing it. But in that case, a lot of memory will be in expenditure. There are a lot of memory that will be expended for that thing, right? For that case, a UDDI, another component of web services that is actually served or that is actually proposed by the server, like see example. If I searched Sundar Pichai, Google has a server, right? Google is promoting a or providing a server that has some UDDI. Now, UDDI knows what WSDL might be relevant to us, like might be relevant to this search, right? And he knows that these are all the relevant data or searches. These are also come from WSDL. These are also actually called the API. These are different. They should call a different API. Okay. So the UDDI has the information which WSDL or WSDL is important, should be important, or could be important for me. Okay. Now that's a part of probability. Now if I just talk about the hard fact, UDDI stores WSDL. Okay. So UDDI stores WSDL. It is an open internet-based specification. It is used for discovery and integration. That is the integration of WSDL. In this picture, you can see that a service, suppose me, I am the client. I am finding a service. I will go to UDDI and UDDI will point at WSDL, and that WSDL will point the web service. This is my client interface, and this part is maintained by Google. This is what is maintained by Google. Okay, so this is not the thing I am actually finding it. Okay, so this part is maintained by Google. This part. Okay, so what the client is doing? A client is trying to find a service, that is I am trying to find, suppose, Facebook. Okay. Just if I search Facebook over here, what would be the result? Let's see. If I search Facebook or in the all section, okay, there are APIs which will lead to Facebook.com to sign me up. There are another API. This is another API of Twitter provided by Twitter. This is another API that you can download it from. There are news, there are Wikipedia, LinkedIn, a lot of things. Okay. If I just search Facebook, the UDDI, I search the service from UDDI. UDDI, gone to UDDI. UDDI pointed out WSDL. That is this. That is this. This is my WSDLs. These are all APIs. These links, hyperlinks are all connected to an API. Okay. These connected APIs will lead me to the another API. Okay, now this web service is defining is connecting from, like, this WSDL is defining from web service, and web service is providing me the response. It will be more understandable in the next part. Here, example, suppose Google is a service provider. It's actually providing a lot of APIs. Okay, I am the client. I am requesting something to Google. Now these Google will provide me the response. But in the back end, what is happening is that I am requesting, that is, this is the back end. This is the back end part. This is the front end part that we as a user look in, as a user look in. This is the front end part. Okay. As a user, we are seeing only this thing. But in the back end, it actually requesting the UDDI. This UDDI contains number of XML document, that is the USDL. USDL point out the web services, connect to the database, response. This is the all request. I'm searching Facebook. He searched, okay, Facebook. Now he is pointing WDSDL. There are six WSDL documents. There are six results. See here, there are six results. WSDL, another WSDL, another WSDL. Okay, six results. These databases will be connected automatically, and these will provided like when I these web services are actually shown. These web services are actually shown. These are getting a response. We are getting the response. Okay. Now if I clicked on this web service, this will connect to the database. If I connect to the facebook.com, if I just clicked on facebook.com, this will connect directly to Facebook database. Now, what we are seeing that we are providing a request and the Google service is giving me the response. But what we are not seeing is that we are sending a request to UDDI, UDDI sending the request to a WSDL, or pointing out to the request. There is a pointing out, point to a description. This describes the services, that is the web service that is present. Okay, and it's actually pointing to services. Okay, and that will providing the response. It will be more understandable in the next part. See here, a client is requesting the server. Okay, a client is requesting the server, same thing, requesting the server. Service is pointing out to the WSDL providing the response. And the next part will be okay, ignore this thing. This is just a prototype that a service consumer or a client is requesting WSDL, and we are getting the response. In this part it will be clear. A service, see here, there are numbers, right? So follow the number. Service provider, that is, suppose Google is providing a web service, right? This, it has their database in some point of their their physical storage, their data center. Okay, they are not directly connecting you to this database. They are publishing a web service. Okay, they're publishing a web service. You as a client, or you as a service consumer, what you are doing, requesting query or request web services. This UDDI stored lot of web services, that is WSDL, web service registry, that is WSDL. It is actually storing a lot of WSDL. It pointed out to a WSDL that this 3 of WSDL could be his of his use, and he is giving the URL from the registry. And this URL contain the requested WSDL. It will go through the service provider directly. Okay, so he has the location that 1 2 3 will be there, and now he is requesting the WSDL direct to the web service, and response is coming to in the XML. Likewise, if I search, suppose I am searching Facebook, but what I am getting here is that a big link, a big URL, right? And what this URL contain? What this URL contain? This URL contain the location of the web services. That is, this is my domain. I have gone to google.com and search what? Q is equals to Facebook. And he gave me this. This is the work of the first API or first web services. This is the work of UDDI. And this is the location of it is basically the WSDL. Okay, it has the information of WSDL. Now as a client we are receiving this URL, and this URL is going to the web services, and these web services are providing me the response. Now there are 1 2 3 response. Okay, so there are, like, if you can see that here, Facebook, and there are a lot of, like, these are filter data or query parameters. Okay, these contain the location of a WSDL or the number of WSDL that should be shown to you. It's directly connecting. It is going to the web services. It is going to the service provider. Service provider is not seeing what you have pushed into website UDDI. Is just seeing the requested WSDL, and the response is coming into XML format. And that's the major reason. If you just, if you can see that if I search Facebook, if you just search Facebook and go to this part, network part. Okay, I have to go to this. Okay, and there will be a lot of another APIs. Okay, these are actually the preview. These are actually the preview. Okay, these are the response preview, or sorry, these are the response preview. Yeah, so these are in XML document. We can't understand this, but Google, those who have developed the Google Chrome can understand it, and converting it for you, that is a work of front end. That is a work of front end, and converting it into this thing. Understood? So what we have learned here is that a client don't directly connect to the service provider. The service provider first publish the UDDI. The client search a query that goes to UDDI. UDDI read it, and then provide a URL that contain the location of WSDL. What are the WSDL that should be responded to you, and what are the WSDL that are. Think of it like this. If you want to go to a hospital, if you want to see a doctor, you have first gone to the hospital and put your name in the receptionist form, and then receptionist has provided you that you should wait outside this room, right? There are two or three doctors inside that room. One of those doctor would check you, or would call you to check you, right? So these, if this is the if this is the hospital, suppose this is the hospital, this is the doctor's chamber. Okay, and this hospital has provided some receptionist, has fitted some receptionist in front of you, and you go to this receptionist and told your problem, like, I have a hearing aid, or I have a hearing problem, I can't see properly, whatever the problem is. He or she told you, okay, go to this room number, where the doctor, eye specialist, or ear specialist will be there, and he will check you out. Understood? This is the basic. Now, if you just go through this document, you can understand what I'm actually telling. Okay. Now, what we have learned here, the service provider don't connect you to the database directly, because this is a, might be there's some privacy issue, there is some security issue. There are a lot of hackers outside there, those who will directly get to the database and will leak the data, right? And secondly, service provider publish a UDDI. Those UDDI actually contain what? Those UDDI contain WSDLs. A client search for a query, and those UDDI read it, provide them URL and the location and the number of WSDL. The client then requests the WSDL to the service provider, then get the response. Now we'll be finding the difference between the SOAP and REST. So basically, SOAP is a type of web services where XML request is marshaled, okay, and a proper method is invoked, and result is marshaled. So no need to worry about the marshalling and all. I'll be understanding that. Okay, so first of all, we should know about the marshalling. The request should be the XML request is marshaled. What is actually is doing marshalling means it refers to the process of converting the data on the objects into a byte stream. Okay, this is known as marshalling. Now, in the SOAP process, we have to send an XML, because we have learned in the previous tutorial that SOAP only understand XML. Okay, we have to send a request in XML, and the XML request will be marshaled, and then the proper method will be invoked, and result is then marshaled again, and then they will send the XML request. Right. On the same hand, REST is also doing the same, but see here, the request parameters processed, proper method is invoked. Proper method invokes means there are some methods. Right? There should be some methods that should be invoked, or there is also a method that should be invoked. The proper method should be proper method of like invocation of the proper method is very much needed. Which response is you require? If there is some error in the method, we will be contacting our developers. What's the issue with the method? Right? So that's the work of testing. So now in the REST services, the request parameters are processed like while, see here, this is the request parameters. Okay, these are the request parameters. If you just search something like dot slashing, sorry, just a minute, slash um, this thing. Let's copy this. What's the issue with this? Okay, leave it here. API, sorry, HTTPS. What's my mistake? Slash API slash users, comma paste. The question was paste 3. See here. So some proper method should be invoked. See here, if I go to request, sorry, request.n, and page 2, we can see, let's change it to page 2. Okay. Okay, here see this. There are a lot of in the JSON format. There are a lot of IDs and the number of profile that are actually present in the page 2, right? There are users. This is actually users database. Okay, we are requesting some users from page 2, and in the same way, these are also providing the same way. Now think of it like this way: if you are searching in Facebook and search something like this, and it provided this, no image, but only image JPG and all, you have to click on the image, then visit to another there will be another API. That will be a lot of hectic thing, right? There will be a lot of hectic thing. So that's this is the way we should make it interactable, and these are the response we will be checking in the API and web service testing, right? We'll be checking these responses, if these responses are coming or not. We have, like, these are per page. See here, per page 6 users are there, total 12, total pages 2. Okay, so in this page 2 there should be 6 member, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and there are total 2, so page 1 might have another 6 member, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so that's how it's actually work here in this thing. Now the thing is that while you what I am actually want you to learn is that request parameter processed means that while I have searched something on suppose something on Google, it has provided with me some link. These are all request parameters. These are all request parameters, and these request parameters contain the location of address of WSDL, and the process how what which WSDL you should need. Right, that's how we have done. Like, this is the domain we'll be learning this, and this is our request parameters. We want something like from page 1, we have to click on page 1, change the parameter, and it will be changed. See here, ID 1 2 3 4 5 6. Same thing, the request parameters invoke. So in the REST services, request parameters invoke, proper method invoked, and result is marshal. Now coming to marshal, it refers to the process of converting the data or the objects. If you want to search a data, it will provide a data. If you want to search an object, it will provide an object. Into byte stream. What the use of byte stream? Because I told you that it don't get directly to the service. So before going to the service, it should like going to the UDDI. And that's where the byte stream marshalling is needed. And that's why the marshalling is done. So what is marshalling? It refers to the process of converting the data or the objects into a byte stream. Unmarshalling is same, vice versa. It is reverse process of converting the byte stream back to their original data or object. Now coming to the next point, what is HTTP and what is HTTPS? I hope that you will understand. I will just go through it. So basically, HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It is the most basic. It allows for the communication between the different systems. You know that over the internet, we have some transfer protocol to exchange our data, exchange our communication in the form of data, and we need some protocol, right? And that's where the HTTP actually comes in place. It is most commonly used to transfer data from a web server to a browser. Basic, like in a browser, we are working on a browser. Will be, if I search something, these all are wrapped over this HTTP. These are all are transferring over this HTTP. If you just search here, see this HTTPS. What's the difference between HTTPS and HTTP is that HTTPS is more secure than HTTP. That is, HTTPS stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. It eliminates the major problem. It eliminates the major problem. Just a minute. It eliminates the major problem of HTTP, that the data transfer from a web server to a browser is not encrypted. Like in HTTPS, I am communicating with a server, with the Google server, right? But if my communication channel is not encrypted, if I'm talking with some my friend over the WhatsApp, and if it is not encrypted, it can be seen by the WhatsApp personnel, like those who are actually working on the WhatsApp, on the back end of the WhatsApp. It can be seen by them. There is no privacy then. Same way it can be and other hackers, like those who are uh, want to see my chat with my friend, then they will be also looking after my chat. Okay, and they will be also looking after the chat of Brian Acton and Mark Zuckerberg, right? So that's why the encryption comes in, because encrypted in the way encryption means that it will be changed into some another code that won't be understandable by another someone other, right? If I just write here, okay Google, it will be changed to something like this, and you won't understand that what's actually I'm sending. But Google understand, or the server and the data understand, and then marshalling and marshalling happens. Okay, then it will be more secure. So it eliminates the major problem of HTTP, that the data transfer from a web service browser is not encrypted, hence easily stolen. So that's why HTTPS it's better for better than HTTP. So make sure when you are searching something on a server, or you searching some URL or link, make sure you check there is HTTPS or HTTP. And it's used as socket SSL, that is a secure socket layer certificate, which helps to create a server encrypted, that is encrypted connection between the server and the encrypted connection between the server and the browser. That is, a secure socket layer is basically, C is like a quantum theory. A particle is moving in a quantum or a packet of energy. Like in that way, the data is moving in a byte stream, or in a different format. Suppose in a XML format has been sent. Okay, it converted into byte stream, and it will move forward to the server, or between, it will be connected between the server and the browser in a encrypted manner, in a socket, or in a small particle. If I just tell you, if I just tell you, okay guys, um hey, what will you understand? See here, that is like, this is a raw text. It will be changed again into something like this. So if I send you like this, hey, this and this, there are no data in between, what you will understand? So these are the packets, these are all packets, these are all packets. There might be something in between this. There might be that will be changed into this encrypted format. You won't understand anything. That's how the encryption actually works. It works, it provides two layer of security, like the socket, secure socket layer, and the encryption. Now coming to the API web service testing challenges, focusing on our main agenda, that is, the initial setup of API testing will be a bit challenging, because um, while we are working, we'll be working on this thing only. Suppose this thing, while you are setting up this thing, you have to set up a lot. It is actually not a challenge, or might be challenge for someone. Not talk Let's not talk about that thing. Updating the schema of your testing, there are a lot of update will be coming in, sorry. Okay, so there should be a lot of schema update will be there, like the API testing. There are a lot of schema update from the server side as well as from the client side. So there are a lot of major difference between the updates or the versions. Testing parameter combination, sequencing the API calls, and validating parameters. Like if we are just working on an API, we will be passing this, like an API has a functionality to transfer the data from one API to another API. That is the API call, but we have to specify, we have to sequence while testing. We'll be sequencing the APIs, right? Then that would be a challenge. Testing parameter combination, like what should be the testing parameters, like we all be doing black box testing techniques. We'll be all doing this, so that will be an issue. But for developers it will be not an issue. Validating parameters, same thing. The testing parameters combination and validating parameters is same thing. Now the tools which we'll be using for testing is that we'll be using SOAP UI and Postman. It is actually based on UI testing, that is, it's send request and receive request. Okay, so SOAP UI and a Postman is a tool that is basically used for manual testing on API. Manual testing means that somewhat like this thing. Okay, no, this. Yeah. So this is a manual testing. We are testing it if the response is coming or not, if it is working or not. Sorry, if it is working or not, we'll be testing. This is a manual testing. We'll be clicking and clicking and all things. Okay, but we are not sending any payload or something, like we are not sending any data. Suppose in the post here, see here, while we are posting something, we are actually providing the payload or data that needs to be posted, right? So yes, that's a challenge. Oh, sorry, not a challenge. That's the issue actually. That's the, sorry, agenda of the SOAP and Postman. That is, it's used for manual testing on API. Whereas rest assured, it automates the API. We have to download jar file, and that's the build path, and write code in Java, and write code in Java. It would be this, right? Okay, write code in Java. Okay. See, REST assured is a tool where we will be testing the API or automating the API. That will be done. That will be done in the next tutorial. We will be understanding things. So, web serving testing process. There are a lot of testing process. You should go through this all. It's not things of me to make you understand. Still, I'll make you a bit more clear. API specification review. Just a minute. Okay, so API specification review the API specification, use case documentation from, not this thing. Read this. Mm, yes, yes, here. Use case documentation from test perspective. See, there are a lot of testing techniques. There are a lot of testing techniques. Like there are behavior driven testing technique, data driven testing technique, and test driven testing technique. Like test driven development is basically go through test driven testing technique. On that thing, we all need documentation, right? In for a testing, we need a documentation. What should be the expected result? What should be the actual result? What is the actual result? And there are a lot of documentation needed. What are the functionality, what is actually do, like the WSDL actually also have the documentation that what's the API do, what's the web service do. That's in that manner. We also need to know what's the API do, what's the web services do. That also comes in documentation. So before starting the API testing, we always go through API specification review, that is the documentation. Test specification and document, this document details and test condition and expected result for each test cases. Same thing. Test framework development, use the standard open source tools like SOAP UI and JMeter. Test standard open, like what tool we are using for testing, that's also a framework development, and that should be also discussed with your development team, your product owner, your business analyst should be discussed about that. And there will be a total, there will be a meeting happen between the developer team and QA team before the testing process start. Okay, test case development, coding of test scenarios, like we'll be developing some scenarios. What would be the actual, like there are a lot of test cases. There should be regression test, retest, sanity, smoke, ad hoc. and there are a lot of test cases. So we need to develop a test case for that. Test case is basically nothing. If you just check, if you are checking out my web driver tutorials series, you can find out that test case is basically test method or the scenarios that we actually develop to test, or we actually simulate the scenarios, or we simulate the users, and test execution and reporting is the final step. Okay. Now, these are all services that are provided by the RESTful web services. That is, in the SOAP services. In the SOAP services, we have find out that we can only do the post. Okay, we can only do the post services. But in the RESTful services, we can do a lot of things like the post, the get, the put, the delete. Okay, so these are types of HTTP request method to implement the CRUD function. Okay, okay. Implement the CRUD function. CRUD function, this is nothing but create, retrieve, update, and delete. So while we'll be learning about this thing, we'll be learning more about this thing. Okay. See here, the HTTP request. What are the HTTP requests? We are requesting some services, like RESTful services have a lot of like 15 type of services, types of request. Okay, so there are four. The main major four requests are post, get, put, and delete. That is, post to create some new resources. Resources are nothing but a data. Get is to retrieve the data. Put it to update the data, and delete for the delete the data. Somewhere like in the manner of this, if I just go to Facebook, if I posted something, if I post something, okay, that okay, sorry, yeah. So we have to send some email, we have to send some password, and then create a new account. We have to post something here. So that is the way it actually work. Here you can see that in a post thing, we have to work on a post services. Okay, let's go to the post services. Create an account. Creating an account. Post service means create a new resources. So creating an account is the best example. So here, it is in JSON format or in XML format. Okay. Here the account ID, account name. This is the data to create an account, right? And this data is known as payload. Format is which? What is the format? Format is JSON or XML. Again, get an account. Suppose I am created my account in Facebook. Okay, I have created an account in Facebook. We have to search it. While searching, I just noticed that the HTTP, sorry, the URL got changed into HTTP API service. Sorry, the HTTPS facebook.com. That is my domain. Okay, and it connected with account ID and all. Okay, and so this account ID and all is known as path parameter, and these are known as query parameter. Now, after getting my account, I have to update something, like I have switched my workplace to this company to another company. That is a call of put call to create an update. We can also create something data, like I have started schooling in this school and all. That is a put call. Again, in the delete, we if I just don't find the importance of using Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram or any other web services, we will be deleting the account, then deleting the resource basically, then it will be of delete call. It's very easy, it's very easy. Now, updating an account. Here, to update a specific data, we will need a unique key for it, that is known as API key. We'll be learning this thing in the future tutorial, and we'll be learning about the URI and path parameter and query parameter. So let's just discuss about the basic of it. If I just can show you in the request, yeah, here, as you can see the request, if I just request the users page 2, this is my path parameter up to this, that is the API and users. This is my domain. Okay, if I can show you, yeah, here API slash users, this is my path parameter. it is also it is also known as the resources. Okay, what are the resources that you are pointing out to? Okay, so that is here, till this, it is my domain. What are the domain that you, like, this domain is hosting some web services. it has a web services, and then this is a path parameter, and post this there will be a question mark, and there will be some page. Suppose this is my thing, and this is a page 3. So page 3 is my query parameter, like more filtered more filtered way. Okay, so the response will come in more filtered way. So these are also called as the query parameter as well as the filtering data. Okay, if I can show you in the SOAP here, just open it, and then we will discuss about URL and URI. Skip it. Here I have working on this tvmaze.com. Then if I just create a request over here, if I just want to create a request, okay, we have to look on the resources. See here, this endpoint is nothing but domain. That is, this is my domain. These are hosting some web services, and these are the resources, that is a lookup and shows, and these are my parameters. These are nothing but I have already told you that post the question mark thing, this is all our query parameter. These are also called as parameters, and these are called as resources. So don't get confused while you are seeing all the names. Don't get confused. These path parameter are also known as only parameter. Sorry, I'm writing over the mouse, so that's why these words coming. And these are also known as, what's the, sorry, my mistake. These are also known as parameters, and these are also known as resources. Don't get confused about this thing. Okay, so these are also known as resources. These are also known as parameters. Now coming to URI and URL. So URI basically means is that uniform. Someone calls it universal or uniform resource identifier. So I have already told you that path parameter is also known as resource, right? So after putting the parameters or the query parameters, this part, a URL is actually contain three things: the domain, the URI, and the query string. Someone calls all over this as a URI, but you will know that pointing out to a resources is also itself is acting as a URI. This is a URI. Okay, if I just run it, it will point out here. It will point out. That's my response. This is the response in the JSON format. Okay, so these comprise of a URI. URI is basically known as the uniform resource identifier. Here, uniform resource identifier is someone called this as a universal resource identifier. See here, I have taken an example. Suppose a domain, suppose this link URL http.michaelcooper.uk/SEO tools, that is my domain. Here the domain is given, yeah, unicoder, that is all. Till the question mark, it is known as our path parameter or URI, and this is known as query string. Okay, post the question mark, it is known as query string. That is the filtering. If you want to practice about this APIs calls and API responses, you can visit the REQ, that is this part, this domain hosted, that is a rest thing. It's based upon the REST API. You can check it and check it yourself, what the get do, what the post do, how the post request is made, like you need some payload after that, and how the delete is done, the what would be the response code. There should be some response code, how the delayed response is doing. The see here, we have request, and with a delay, the delay has been shown here as in we see buffering, right? As in we see buffering here, see there. So you can practice on your hands by using this, by exploring this. You will understand more about it. In the next tutorial we'll be learning about SOAP, but before that we will take some break to make it more learnable, and we'll be committing another tutorial on this API testing in the near future. Till then, keep on learning. I hope that I have made you understand. We'll be finding this document over the description as well as in my LinkedIn profile. You can visit there and can connect with me. Till then, keep on learning. I hope that I have made you understand more about the things, we'll be understanding more about things. Keep on learning, never settle for something, like for a single thing, never settle for a single thing. Okay, guys.